The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to Old Space Show. I'm Brandon. This is my companion, returning, Rachel. Friend. Rachel Friend. Just two names. This series of Old Space Show follows the story-by-story time-traveling adventures, or you could just say story adventure in parts for us, of the Sixth Doctor and Perry Brown during season 23 of Doctor Who, dubbed The Trial of a Time Lord, Colin Baker's second year in the role. Today, we'll be discussing the story comprised of episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4, known as The Mysterious Planet. The Doctor is summoned before the High Council of the Time Lords to stand trial for the charges of harmful interference to the course of events during his space-time excursions, which have threatened the sanctity of the universe. Indignant at these accusations, the Doctor pleads his case to the Inquisitor with the hope that she will see him as a source of hope and goodwill for existence. However, his prosecuting attorney, a sinister Time Lord simply known as the Valeyard, begins a crusade against the Doctor's life with the motive of painting him out to be a villainous rogue. The Valeyard's first movement against the Doctor is to review his past interactions on a familiar planet called Ravalox, where he and his then companion Perry Brown met the morally gray Sabalom Glitz and a tyrannical robot stalking the world's desolated landscape. However, Ravalox holds a terrible truth in the far reaches of its ruins, while the Doctor's trial has its own fair share of startling twists and turns. All right, this one is directed by Nicholas Mallet, who you will remember, or who will go on to direct Paradise Towers and Curse of Fenric. It's written by the Robert Holmes, legendary Doctor Who writer, and stars Colin Baker as the Sixth Doctor, Nicola Bryant as Perry Brown, and Michael J. Stin, Linda Bellingham, Joan Sims, Tony Selby, Glenn Murphy, and Tom Chadbon. Bellingham, who's the Inquisitor, she was in 27 episodes, Old School, General Hospital of the 1970s, also starring in Z-Cars, an episode of Blake 7, and the 2007 iteration on BBC of Robin Hood. Michael Jaston, lovable chap, was almost James Bond in one of those "Is Roger Moore coming back or isn't he?" periods of the 007 Eon films, but he did play him in radio plays. So he did get to play James Bond. He'd been on EastEnders. He played Colonel Mustard in a game show called Cluedo on BBC. Like, that sounds like fun. Someone dig that up. I would have watched that.
Colonel Mustard, Clue, never heard of it.
Yeah. So then Tony Selby recently passed, but he died oddly. It was twice last year, 2021, because there was a person named Tony Selby that I believe was an actor who died like months before Tony Selby actually died. And it got reported that it was this Tony Selby. And they're like, no, Tony Selby is actually alive. And then a couple months later, he's dead now too. So that was a weird time thing that happened. If you're in Who fandom, you saw it on social media. It's like, Tony Selby died. No, he's alive. But he's a staple of British television, fun presence. Sims here, she's a big deal in British TV and was like a get for this episode. But welcome back, Rachel. Old Space Show, Doctor Who.
Funnily enough, Michael Jaston, before becoming the Valeyard back in the early 70s, so like 15 years before he did this, thereabouts, he played Tsar Nicholas in a film called Nicholas and Alexandra,
yes,
where Tom Baker plays Rasputin.
Oh. Oh yeah, that one. Yes.
Because we on Gold Standard, we interviewed his co-star, Janet Sussman, who also happens to be Nick's cousin.
Oh wow.
She was nominated for Best Actress for the Academy Awards for that year. She lost to Jane Fonda, but yeah,
Or
so
Clute.
that was kind of
right. Clute?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, so it was kind of fun to hear Janet talk about working with both Michael when he was on Doctor Who, and then at this point Tom was not the Doctor quite yet, but was close to it because this was like 1970, 71 or something like that. So as far as like the casting and everything, but yeah, and it was really fun to talk to her about what it was like to work with Tom Baker. I can't say what it was like to act with Tom Baker, because as Janet said, and you can go listen to that episode of Gold Standard, you didn't act with Tom Baker, you acted around Tom Baker.
Right. Yeah. That's not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Jason has worked with the fabulous Baker's Boys of Who.
So if I ever get to meet Michael Jaston again, this time I can be like, I'm like good friends with your Queen Alexandra to yours are Nicholas.
There you go. He's a fun cat. Like he's been popping up. Jason's been on a lot of the Blu-rays for like doing the behind the sofa segments. Like he came back for the season 23 Blu-ray, of course, to do like the Doctor's Table and some of it. But he and Colin, I believe, they watched the Sylvester McCoy's first season, the season that follows this, together for the behind the sofa. And I can't remember if he's on another one or not, but yeah, he seems game to do Doctor Who stuff. Yeah,
that's about the only place you see him. Like he doesn't do like the convention circuit unless it's a Doctor Who specific, like Chicago TARDIS or Long Island Who or something like that. So Gallifrey One.
Yep. Yeah, I think he was just at Gallifrey One a couple weeks ago.
I think
as of recording this. Yeah, I think he was one of the people there. But good on him. And we'll be talking about him all throughout this season, as he is a regular. Him and the Inquisitor, they are in the wraparounds, the trial. But
the filler.
The one thing that makes this a full-length serial
miniseries.
Let's get to that approach. So Doctor Who, and almost like to the date as of when we're recording this, I think it was like a week or two back during the airing of the Two Doctors, which we talked about the last time we did Colin Baker Doctor Who, but the date before episode 2 aired of the Two Doctors, it leaked or something that Doctor Who had been canceled officially, and there was a big
25th of February 1985 is when
1985, yeah, 37 years ago to the day almost, and there was pandemonium across, and then they had to say, oh no, it's on hiatus, but it had been really canceled, and I don't think they realized the fan backlash. So there was a guy, it was Michael Grade, who hated Doctor Who at the BBC, which as of right now, season 22, the Blu-ray set comes out in the UK in March this month, or not. There's no date yet, but we're guessing now April, since Doctor Who magazine for March didn't have anything about it. But and in the United States in June, they actually have a sit-down conversation with Michael Grade for the In Conversation piece on that, which is with Matthew Sweet, which is going to be terrific, because he goes, sometimes the villains need a chance to speak, and this is the man who he didn't like Doctor Who. He used a clip of like the cheapest, most under budget, awful scene of Warriors from the Deep imaginable to go, this is garbage, why is this on TV? Before even Colin Baker stepped in the role. So a lot of people want to put a lot on Colin Baker. It was that clip, and that guy's mind was made up. As we displayed, the ratings may have slightly dipped from Davison to Baker, but they were still there. It was almost like a parallel line. Everyone's going to jump in to check out the new Doctor. It's going to drop right after that, but he held on. And then it goes on this, they changed their mind. Okay, 18-month hiatus. And so what they're like, okay, you also are going to go back to half-hour episodes. And here's 14, which is one more than they had the previous season. But when you take them down to a half hour, it's actually kind of like they got 12 less episodes than they did before. So, and they scrapped their entire plans for season 23, which
there were going to be some of those thankfully have been turned into Big Finish.
Most, I think they've got all of them now.
See like the return of like the Celestial Toy Maker,
the Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
Still was going to come back and be with the Ice Warriors.
The Ice Warriors have come back once. That was a weird episode. Nothing like Russian submarines and Ice Warriors. And but like the Celestial Toy Maker, even now, is one of those foes that people are like,
he's been gone for
gimme,
so
please
long.
Bring him back.
And Chibnall gave us a mention. Chibnall said like there was the Toy Maker's like, the Toy Maker. Michael Goff played him. He's a notable big time actor, and it made an impression for an episode where a serial where one episode exists. No telesnaps, just the audio, and one episode exists, and yet it has made such an impact and such a character that people wanted. And that was going to be the premiere. That was where we were going to go. The Nightmare Fair is what it's called, where they go to a fair and it ends in whatever Big Finish turned it ended up being the Doctor and the Celestial Toy Maker going head to head in a video game kind of thing, like a VR type deal. I have that one. I'm slowly going through those season 23 because that's where the audio for it airs me, because I'm like, well, I'd like to hear these in action somehow. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff scrapped for it. And they you go with this. Someone had it in them that, hey, well, they put who like, hey, you go on, you better do good, da. So they figured we're on trial. Let's put the Doctor on trial. And that was for this idea, even though they're taking like 3 standalone stories and just kind of going, here's how they fit into this a bit. But it's one considered by many to be one whole serial, 14 part, the longest serial in classic Who history or Doctor Who history, beating out the Daleks Master Plan, which was 12. But why does the key to time never get brought up in that discussion? I have to wonder.
I don't know.
It never get.
I think because key to time is not. If I remember correctly, the key to time was not aired as one.
Well, they all have.
Chunk, I think. Right?
Well, no, it's one season. It's season 16, and they, the crux is there's the Black Guardian, the White Guardian.
Yeah.
Doctor's got to collect all these pieces to make the key to time. Each serial, he finds one, and then the last one, it's the end game.
Yeah.
But it's
maybe it's because it's not quite as
if this one didn't have
threaded as this one is, or
if this one didn't have the title cards that it does, do you think people would hold strongly that it's a 14-part serial?
Probably not.
Like, I get it. I get it. But like, I was like, really, like, this is loosely, and the Dalek Master Plan, I will say, while 12 episodes, gets off course in the middle of it and then comes back for like the last 3. So it's not as neat at like, because
that would be like, oh, Hartnell's going on vacation. We need to do.
Yeah. Hartnell's going on vacation.
Needs a vacation. So we're gonna do a little something here.
Yep.
When he comes back from his holiday in a few weeks.
I mean, that one starts out hot and then goes up like, oh, let's do a Christmas episode in the middle of this. That is just us
where they
wandering,
break the fourth wall in the
breaking
middle
the fourth wall. And then the next episode has nothing to do with it. And they're like, oh, it's New Year's because it's been a week. So here's fireworks. Like, look, Steven, New Year's. And then they have a couple episodes with the monk. The Daleks come back, and then we finish it in 3. So it's like, yeah, it's all under the same sequences of time and events, but
it's less of an actual series than like Key to Time or this.
Key to Time. I get it. They're all separate adventures, but it's like quests that build up to the final thing. And then this one, they past, present, future, like that's kind of what they're doing here. And then the finale.
And then they haven't really done anything since Flux, I think, but we just had with the
Flux is the first
miniseries
traditional serial since the classic series. We've had 2-parters, and there's
we've had overarching stories.
Yeah,
that like they start with something and then eventually resolve it, like Clara being the impossible girl or the crack in Amy's bedroom. So
that's why the Chibnall's it's interesting. His era looking back is going to be because his first series was, hey, let's do all these standalone stories, which kind of very much old school Hartnell era, like standalone stories. But then like the next season is very much like a Russell T Davies serialization, where it's like, here's some introduced things here. We'll touch upon them right here real quick in the middle, and then we'll face them in the end. But everything else is pretty straightforward. And then the last one, he's like, you know what? Let's just make a serial like they did back in the day, where like here's 6 and go. But we live in the modern era, so we're not going to get like a bunch of 6-part Jodie Whittaker serial. It's like, here's just one. Here you go. And then some specials, which is back to like Davies and Tennant holding on era. But yeah, was a nice throwback. The Flux was a lot of fun to keep. It felt like it went by too fast. That was a shame, but a lot of fun with that. But we're here with the Trial of the Time Lord. Colin Baker's back. His hair has grown out. It's blonder.
He was busy being a first-time parent. That was the one thing with that 18-month hiatus, is he and his wife had their first kid, so he got a unexpected paternity leave. So I've never been a parent, but from what I understand, it's very time consuming. So even things like showering can be difficult to fit into your day. So maybe getting a haircut was just kind of plus gave some Peter Capaldi's doctor something to aspire to.
And
grow out the fro
Pertwee
as
with
my
the
run
bouffant.
goes on.
The Pertwee bouffant, like he never cuts it. Baker's let his grow a bit throughout, so that's a Doctor Who thing. Jodie's hair has grown longer every season she said it, so it's a thing they do. Nicola Bryant, her hair grew. And also with the Trial of Time Lord, we get a new theme song, the Peter Howell theme from season 18 to 22 that introduced with the John Nathan Turner era is gone, and Dominic Glynn writes a new theme, which is kind of fabulous. And it's like, hey, Colin got his own theme. Like I more associate the Howell theme with Peter Davison. He got to have it for 3 years, but it felt like that was the new regime finally kicking in once Tom Baker left, and so I kind of associate that more with Tom Baker. So each Doctor kind of has their own theme-ish, even though the first 3 are kind of similar. But
it looks kind of similar too with the colors, although the colors actually coordinate with Colin's Doctor.
Yeah, they glitzed it up a bit, not to sabble on that there, but it's kind of a little more sparkly, but it works. And Trial of the Time Lord has its own kind of essence, and this is a serial that is it love or hated, or are most people coming around on it now?
I mean, I don't know about, just in general, the Sixth Doctor is very hot or cold with the fandom in general. So, but usually those of us that are firmly in the Sixth Doctor camp, where it's like he got such a short straw when it came to his entire run. So we're just like, we're just happy with what we got.
Right.
So, and we'll obviously we'll break these stories individually, talk about them individually. Then when we get to the very end, we can talk about the whole thing as a whole.
Right.
And I liked some more than, some of the bits, more than others, for different reasons. So, but overall, I mean, I like it. I think that, the courtroom bits, for as cheesy as it is, where it's like, we're going to cut corners wherever we can. So let's have this stagnant set.
Right. Yeah.
Where it looks like a junior high auditorium. And it's exactly what it reminds me. It reminds me of my middle school's auditorium.
Oh, wow.
And
middle school in Gallifrey. Awesome. Well, not Gallifrey, the station, because they have this.
Yeah, it's the station. It's not even on Gallifrey.
this thing opens and has intermittently this model work that's incredible.
Which was like where they spent most of their money. Like
killed
the
budget
effect shot of them yanking the TARDIS out of time to this thing cost like $8,000 or something, which was like most of their budget.
And none of the effects through the rest of this thing will ever live up or hold a candle to it, which makes it feel so odd. And you start this thing, you're like, holy crap, where is Dr. Back to normal stuff. They also they no longer shoot the exteriors on film. They go to a video camera. They go on video now. And it looks cheaper, obviously. Like, explosions they look like fireworks at times as compared to explosions. And it's kind of, the BBC soap opera effect type stuff, but this is how it will be to the end through all, like, this is all, Sylvester McCoy, he never got to be shot on film. Till the movie, he got to be shot on film. But yeah, this is, the budget's way down, but it's in my kind of wheelhouse of campy still. Like, I can still imagine. I love seeing what people can do with a little bit of money. Like, it's
I mean, crap, at least in Star Trek Next Gen, the teleporter effect was glitter suspended in water. So
right. But
thank you, LeVar Burton, behind the scenes on an episode of Reading Rainbow.
Heck yeah. Take a look. It is in a book. In this book, we have a mysterious plant, which obviously has to start with a whole lot of setup of this trial, where it's just kind of like, okay, where are we? What's going on? And
the doctor immediately being like, "You gotta put me on trial. I'm Lord President of Gallifrey."
Like,
and the Inquisitor is like, actually, you abandoned your post.
Right. So go sit down. Sit down. It was almost like that came where it's like, hey, continuity person's like, hey, he was president and we made this rule that he can, oh yeah, throw that in, make that line there so we acknowledge that we know what we're doing. But we meet the Valyard, and the Valyard is a very cool Nemesis character. We'll I guess we'll wait till we get there to talk about who he is in the end of it. But
spoilers.
And he takes him through a journey in his past, going to the planet Ravelox and his meddlings. That's what, because the Doctor is altering history or something by
conduct unbecoming of a Time Lord.
Right. It's like, now you're stopping him for this? Like,
yeah. It's like he's on body number 6 and you're just now. Although they have tried to stop him. Yeah, that's the whole reason they made him president of Gallifrey all the way back when Tom Baker was the Doctor. It's like, oh, we can make him president, and then he'd be forced to stay on Gallifrey. And he's like, bye. And then,
and the 5 Doctors
try to bring him back again during Davison's era. And he's like,
right.
Even then, I think it was Tegan, that was all like, you deliberately running away from your own people. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Bye. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's funny they talk about this, but like we never really see the effects of changes or whatever the doctor made. Cause like in the early days, it was like, you can't fix something. And then they have a serial I like because of this factor, the arc with William Hartnell, where they go to a planet or no, they go to a spaceship. It's trying to preserve a community. And Dodo's like got a cold and she passes it and like wipes out the place. Like, cause they go there a little bit in the future and the little cyclopsy mop things have taken over. It's now their place because her cold passed through everybody and not wiped out a species. And I'm like, that's cool stuff. The effects of going where you weren't in history or something. And they don't really explore that a lot in Doctor Who, but that's not kind of the crux of the show, but that's kind of what they're doing with the Doctor here to put him on trial. But Ravalox, it's Earth.
Yep.
that's the big spin. The story, there's
light
a lot
years away from where it should be, and
right,
millions of years.
Somebody had to move it.
Years,
right?
Beyond Perry's lifetime, but Perry still takes it very, very personally.
Because they're in a train station, which I like that set. The rubble train station,
Marble Arch.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think for a low budget, that's effective. I think it's
very
great.
Indiana Jones.
Remind me of the Beneath the Planet of the Apes, where they go to find the mutants, that kind of thing. I love those aesthetics, those kind of things. And
you can do a lot with vines.
Yeah,
and
sure
dirt.
Can. Vines and dirt, just age a place up real fast. It's story elements that appear in other Doctor Who thing. Like I've noticed, there's the one, it's Earth, or something's happening, but there's a common ground that happens a lot, where there's like two separate kinds of people and they don't know about the other, or they worship something that's out there and they have no idea, or they believe something that's not true. And then the Doctor comes and they have to face this kind of thing, like Face of Evil, where there's a tribe of people and the Doctor's head is like a Mount Rushmore. And they believe
exactly what I was thinking.
And they have, and this is kind of in that wheelhouse, and inside that Mount Rushmore, where they've got these pieces of like a spaceship and they worship these as these ancient artifacts, but it's just really this other group of people that was them before, or something, hiding out in this spaceship, futuristically stuff. This is in that wheelhouse. Full Circle kind of has that, with another Tom Baker story, but these kind of like recurrent themes. But when you're on a show that's on like into being on 26 years and there's always a new generation coming in, you can refresh old stories, and that's a-okay in my mind. Like there's only so many stories to tell.
You can take a bit, basic premise and dress it up, present it in a different way, and people are gonna totally ignore the fact that it's essentially the same thing. It makes me think of David Copperfield, not the Dickens story, the magician,
right?
And at one point he was talking about how he had approached, when he was going to do a TV special, one of his many TV specials, and he was like, there's a very traditional escape, because he does do some escape stuff, on top of illusions of being essentially put in a box in a hole in the ground covered with dirt and has to escape from it. And they were like, ugh, that's boring. So he came, went left, came back, and he's like, okay, how about this? I get put in a safe inside a building that's about to be detonated, and I got to escape from that. And they were like, absolutely. And he was like, it's the exact same premise. The guy in a box trying to escape from being suffocated under, a bunch of stuff. So
very true. Very true. Oh, that's funny. We get a cool robot in this named Dathro, who runs the underground people.
What kind of name is that? Drathro?
Dathro. He's the immortal that runs all the people that live underground.
I like how he's the L7 robot. Like, are we supposed to know what that is?
it's one of those like, a lived in universe kind of thing where they're casually speaking without explaining, I guess. But yeah, but he's a big robot. I think he looks cooler than the robot in Robot. Honestly, I like this weird like kind of magnet thing on his head design.
I mean, he's no Candyman, but
no, he's not the Candyman. Oh,
it's really hard to beat the Candyman.
Oh gosh, and we're talking about the Happiness Patrol Candyman, folks, not Tony Todd.
Yeah,
Candyman. Or the guy at the beginning of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Or Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's Candyman. But yeah, so the people underground are a bit more rigid, stiff, kind of follow the rules. They don't want to go outside because they breathe the fire, the air.
As far as they know, life above ground is inhospitable. The planet they know the planet was on fire at one point, supposedly. There's that water is a very important resource that is very limited. So there are these people that just they don't know life any better, so they just the person that exerts the most power, well, in this case isn't even a person, but who has more knowledge than they do,
right?
They just kind of blindly follow because they don't know any better, which
is where
it's applicable to real life.
Doctor comes in medals to get them out of there, and they have helmets and all sorts of things, and they read books. That the 3 books they have, the Earth book, they have Moby Dick, that's what they call it. They have like some other book and a manual, and I love that they have.
Was it the migratory patterns of the geese or something?
Yes, yeah. And that's some genius Bob Holmes writing right there. It's like not all the books are gonna be these classics that you find in the rubble. Like it's gonna be for these people fighting them and worshiping and living off these words is very amusing. The people above are much more tribalistic, living in little camps and more savage, as with prisoners and types of things, long beards, and they have like,
but they're not ignorant. They know what guns are,
right?
And so they've had enough experience with people appearing on the planet and encountering them that they're definitely way more aware of the greater universe than the people below ground.
Right. And they've got like a satellite type thing that is an attraction to outsiders that they keep having problems with, which brings in Sabalon Glitz and Dibba. What a tandem, these two.
Poor Dibber.
Poor Dibba. He didn't get a comeback. They liked Sabalon Glitz. Sabalon Glitz will be a recurring character in this and the next season of Doctor Who, played by Tony Selby. But they're comedic. They're fun. I get why they pop.
I love Sabalon Glitz. Yeah. All 3 of the stories that he's in are
Did
really
they ever
good.
like big finish Sabalon Glitz? Like him and Mel or him and Dibber for stuff?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. That's a good question. I want to say I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
He's one of my dreams for the Eagle Moss figurine collections, because they do companion sets, and they could either do a Trial of the Time Lord set with 6 Doctor, Mel, Perry, and Sabalon Glitz, or they could do a Dragonfire set with 4 and have Ace, Mel, because they need a Mel too. They haven't done a Mel figurine.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think Tony Shelby does, but I think Glitz gets mentioned in some.
Okay. That didn't count. I want a Glitz space adventure.
Yeah.
Some love Han Solo. Others fall for Savalon Glitz.
Yeah. So, but I could be wrong. I mean, there's so much Big Finish that I can't keep track.
Oh, but yeah, through this adventure with, back and forth and robots and Colin Baker getting oddly looking tied up to robots where
or styrofoam rocks thrown at.
Yeah, styrofoam rocks, blocks with a umbrella. Sort of thing.
I have a rainbow umbrella that goes with my Sixth Doctor cosplay.
I love it. And having to suffer being called the Old One throughout, which Colin Baker played. Like, that's like a crux. Like, he's like, keep giving me that. I have a lot to play with here.
And showing that the Doctor has no idea how old he actually is, because I think he says he's like 900 years old or 600 years old at this point. And I'm like, you're on body number 6. You're not as old as you think you are.
Right.
I mean, even as a human, we reach a certain age and we forget how old we are. So I totally get it.
True story. But he also has he busts out the jelly babies for a Tom Baker callback, as well as.
Are those jelly babies though? Because
they're the same kind
like
of bag. They're the same
babies.
bag he used to have.
But I would think if they were jelly babies, he would name drop them.
True.
And they don't look like jelly babies. They kind of look like a little, maybe little peppermint stick, twisty type thing. So they don't seem as squishy. They seem more.
I just figured, I saw the bag and I'm like, is that what they're going for? And they just don't have it. He doesn't name drop, call it anything. He just.
Yeah. Because I mean, pretty much anytime the Doctor busts out jelly babies, he usually names drop them.
Yeah. He also,
even if he doesn't name drop them, they make sure that they show us, like, with Capaldi's Doctor in the cigarette case.
Right. He calls Perry Sarah Jane and then says it as if he's the third Doctor in a way. So there's that kind of interesting.
Poor Perry.
She
has a Perpigilio. Yeah.
They give her
she gets to wear pants.
She gets to wear pants. They get to put her botany into play.
Pants.
Yeah. Her botany background comes into play here early on. I mean, it's they acknowledge it, and it's something that they actually do bring up every once in a while with Perry throughout. It's something they could have just introduced her on and then just never did it again. Like, poor Mel, she was supposed to be some computer technician person, and that never. I think that's something we have to read on the back of a card or something to know. But Perry actually gets the botany stuff brought up and used multiple times throughout her run here, which is almost coming to an end. But this is her last, not event story, because the next one will be her departure. But so there's that with her in here. She gets stuck with Savalon Glitz and Dibber a bit because she's with the one camp and the Doctor's underground for a lot of it. But push comes to shove with this, and once leadership starts dying off, the people then realize we could maybe live together, maybe doing stuff with these underground things.
We have the one guy that underground that seemingly defects.
Yes,
from
he's seen the light,
the immortals. Yeah, and he sends that poor guy, the keeper of the books, up to the ground.
Yeah.
Go, please run away.
Right. Oh, the Katrika and her right-hand person have a gruesome deaths when Dathro kills them. Like he shocks them and their faces are all bloody and crap like that. And also so we're talking about Perry and the Doctor's relationship feels like it jumped ahead like a season or two, but it works. I like it. Like they've been traveling around for a while, and this is what they were wanting to build to with Colin, but didn't have the time, obviously. Because
that's where Big Finish comes in, as they've been able to fill in a lot of that.
But it works here. It's fun. It's not as dark as the previous season was trying to be. It's more going for more, I don't know what it used to be, but it kind of feels like it's, I don't know. It's weird. This season and 24, the next season, kind of have their own vibe here that only go with each other, even though they're different Doctors. And then season 25 and 26 kind of go somewhere else. I think Cartmel has more control. It goes more to what he wants. But in this weird period, coming back from cancellation, season 23 and 24 have this sort of like goofiness to them to work. But yeah, it's kind of the change of pace, though. I still think it gets across. I don't think they ever lose sight of who Colin's doctor is. And that's probably on Colin a bit too, because he's able to portray him so well that it doesn't feel like it's like, well, they completely changed everybody. It's just like, no, just our surroundings are different. Our budget's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, and it helps too that other than what all 4 parts are written by experienced Doctor Who writers.
Right.
So,
well, there are a lot of people that either were there's people from last season, and then there's people, some of those people got brought in and had scripts for season 23, the original one, that got tossed, but they brought them back to, hey, let's try again. But so,
well, then there's a whole other we'll have to wait till we get to Ultimate Phone to talk about it, but there's a whole mess.
I've been waiting to talk about Ultimate
script writing stuff with Ultimate Phone.
So Rachel,
it was a mess.
On the previous old space show, Pip and Jane Baker wrote an episode of Space 1999 season 2. So I kind of went over. Nice. I went over who they were and why I was like, I love Pip and Jane Baker. They were fabulous. They were fabulous script writers. They possibly wrote Colin's character the best of.
Oh yeah, they totally got his doctor.
They sang together. That combo. Before I go, there's a couple things. One, Colin Baker, Michael Jaston, and the 6 Doctors' constant ridiculing and besmirching of the Balyard name, the junkyard,
the farmyard,
it's like endless.
The junkyard,
it's endless.
The
scrapyard. Like, he's got to come out. He's got to run out of stuff, and he does it. And then she even calls him out, like, please stop.
Yeah, but I mean, the courtroom stuff gives Colin just the opportunity to do like what his doctor does best, and that is to command a room and
chew that scenery up.
Chew the scenery and have the biggest ego in the room.
Right. Like, they only give him much space.
He's not always the smartest person in the room. The doctor likes to think they are the smartest person in the room, and a lot of times they are. But there are some times where the doctor is very ignorant but does not want to admit that they don't know what's going on, so he makes up with that with bravado. Right.
He is limited to a booth, yet floods the room. Like, it's incredible. And also to go with it.
Yeah. I don't know how the gal playing the Inquisitor was able to get through filming this without a bazillion retakes because of cracking up, because I would have been laughing.
Oh yeah.
The entire time. I'd be like, is a camera on me? No.
Jason having to keep this little stoic face.
Yes.
Also, this too, unintentional comedy here, and I want to bring it up because this happens throughout. The cliffhangers in this, so many of them are crash zooms at a Colin Baker's face with like a reaction, and it's hilarious. Like, he's just like,
I think it's so at funny. The end of the second part of this one, where they get trapped in between the people above ground and the robot. And they're like, what do we do? And the Colin's doctor is like, this might just be the end.
And it's it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's the one that I think there's a GIF on the internet where he's like got his chin up and he's like his eyes looking down and it zooms like right in there. It's so funny. Oh, so good. But what do you think of Mysterious Planet overall?
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, this is the one that requires, a lot of setup. Yeah, because it has to set up the trial, who the Valeyard is, the Inquisitor, why the Doctor is on trial. And this is also supposed to be evidence that the Valeyard's using against the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also this idea of Earth being moved, which won't be the last time that Earth will be moved from its proper location in Doctor Who.
Correct.
Thank you, David Tennant. So, and the reason that Glitz is there on Ravelox in the first place, well, yes, he's supposedly there to destroy this totem, but he also has an ulterior motive that we won't find out what he was doing until we get to, the back end of this. So there's several subplots that get set up in here that we don't get resolution to until later. If you're not paying attention, you're going to be like, what are they talking about? Like, oh, that's that thing they talked about all the way back in the very first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a show that deceptively one would think like, I don't have to pay that much attention to, but you do.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Well, and the thing is like this is season 23 of Trial Time or whatever, and you've got 4 stories, but then each story is like three or 4 pieces each in those. So there's a lot. There's still a lot there.
Yeah,
a lot of information you gotta keep track of. So
for sure, definitely. And personally, I like Mysterious Planet. I think it's just a solid Who story, up and down. I don't think the special effects hamper it. I think some of the trial cutaways cut right, but this is where they're trying to establish this is how it's going to go this season. But it works, and I think the comedy's solid. Like from Colin, I like the story. I think the monsters, the sets work. The only thing that's weird is the outside action sequences are feel like I almost like a high school VCR hi-fi camera shot it sometimes, and it's a thing.
It's just that switch from video to film.
You have to
from film to video that it just
your eyes have to get used to it. Your eyes just have to
look
take
to it.
Yeah,
it's okay for the courtroom sets.
Yeah,
because it is a very bland set anyway. It's not anything visually interesting. So as long as it's lit halfway decently, you're okay. They
figure it out in the next story just to give a hint, but they don't spend a lot of time outside.
It's very much like. But other than that, it actually looks pretty good. Like the costumes for the free people look pretty good. Their little village and little huts and stuff aren't that cheap looking. Like when the one robot comes bursting through the wall to get the Doctor.
Right.
The rock wall doesn't look that styrofoamy.
No. It is Warriors from the Deep. It is not.
Yeah. So. It's not Cybermen bursting through saran wrap.
No, it's not. No.
So.
It works. It's a solid story. It's a solid start to this. I agree, definitely. But that is it. It's time for us to return to the TARDIS to set our coordinates for our next adventure. Rachel, whereabouts in space and time can people keep up with you?
Oh my goodness. So every other week, you can find me in the Gold Standard Theater with Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, where DJ Nick, Zan, and I are watching and reviewing all of the Academy Award Best Picture winners in chronological order. We can be found pretty much wherever you find podcasts. Just look for Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast. And we're also on Facebook and Twitter. And also once a month with our Patreon, if you want to become a patron supporter, we do a non-winner. It can be a fellow nominee, or even one that's just, hey, I like this movie. It was never going to win an Oscar, but I want to hear you guys talk about it. If you want to become a patron, we do a patron pick once a month as well. So that's been fun to be able to talk about some of the the more mainstream stuff that doesn't never win Oscars, like, you know, the OG Star Wars trilogy and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. So there's that. Like I said, that comes out every other week. And then every week you can find me with the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. We are a pop culture and entertainment podcast where we talk about all things geeky and nerdy from the female perspective. And once again, we can be found wherever you find podcasts and at the5ishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our social media accounts. And then on the About Us page, you can connect with my personal ones as well.
All right. Hashtag trial of the century. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD, written work at whysoblue.com. There is more from the Brandon Peters Show this week, which actually, if you are listening to this as the episodes are airing, Rachel and I will be back tomorrow to talk the next segment of the Trial of the Time Lord, which is called Mind Warp. So these episodes, the Trial of the Time Lord, will be all through this week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a little special thing for you Friday. So that is it this week. So check us out tomorrow. And until then, stay full positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.